Zen, I think it was a Zen Buddhist, Zen monk, Zen master, said that to throw everything at it. When someone asked him, I guess it was a him, for advice, he just said regarding awakening, enlightenment, what am I supposed to do? What is the best way of doing it? Or, yeah, what should I do? And he simply answered, throw everything at it. And what he meant, at least if I get to interpret it, was that, yeah, to do whatever is necessary, basically, to go to the places you don't want to go, to face your fears, to do everything basically necessary. There's this, I guess, tension between going overboard or doing too much or pushing yourself too much. We see a lot of teachers saying basically, yeah, you don't need to do anything. Jiddu Krishnamurti, I think, was one of the, maybe not the first, but first in like modern times, saying basically that, yeah, we don't need to do anything. We have everything is already as it is. Everything is perfect as it is. And we have even more modern people like some non-duality people, Tony Parsons, Jim Newman come to mind. And they also speak in terms of, yeah, everything is just an appearance. Everything is, just as it is. There's an appearance of this person. There's appearance of whatever, and nothing happens, which is true. It is true. Yet it is also true that most of these teachers that claim that there's nothing to do, there's no one to do anything, everything is just illusion, basically. Everything is just an appearance. There is an appearance of whatever. They've done a lot of spiritual practices. They have thrown everything at it. They didn't just start saying that, or that what what they're saying didn't become their reality until after a lot of work, basically, for most of them. And there's so many examples of people doing this. I think even someone like Adyashanti, who do, profess to or invite us to do meditation, he, at some point, I think it was earlier in his teaching career, he wasn't that fond of pushing for meditation. He was more, you can sit with however your back is. You can sit with a slump position. You can sit with a straight back. It doesn't really matter. You can do meditation. You cannot do meditation, which is true from a certain perspective, but statistically, it isn't. Statistically, it is, and he has changed. That was my point. So nowadays, he's not that bullish on not. Now he teaches sitting, with at least the last teaching I saw from him was sitting with a straight back with the hands in the classical mudra position, which is basic meditation. What all these traditions have taught for hundreds and even thousands of years. And there's a reason for it. It's not, even though when people have this realization that, yeah, everything is already perfect as it is not like that for most people until they have thrown everything at it. So this ties into the concept of surrendering. That is often what happens when we throw everything at it. It's not that we control anything through throwing everything at it. We just do it. We try and we fail. I remember in Shunryu Suzuki's book, Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, he quotes a famous Zen teacher who says that a Zen teacher's life is shoshaku, something like that, which basically means in English to succeed error with error, or one continuous mistake. That is also to say, like Ken Wilber, I heard the American philosopher, mystic, whatever you want to call him, saying that meditation doesn't get you enlightened, but meditation can sort of make the egoic mind, or the ego even, the egoic process, to tire itself out enough so that God or consciousness can slip in the stead. That is the goal. So it's not that we get an enlightened ego or that we do a lot of things and we get something. But there is a definite apparent correlation between doing work, between putting effort. And that's the paradox. It's a paradox, of course, because that's from the Tony Parsons perspective, or there's no one doing anything. There's no one waking up. It's just the one that was seeking disappeared. He, she, it went through nirvana, cessation, and something else appeared. But that's happened through effort. In Zen Buddhism, again, there's this thing called shikantaza, which means just sitting. And just sitting sounds very easy. But if you read what, for example, Yasutani Roshi or some other famous Zen master writes, they don't speak about it as something that is effortless. They actually call it effortless effort. If you want to conceptualize it, you could see it as being in flow, even if you're like practicing a sport and really pushing it. Say you're a Formula One driver, for example, they are really pushing it. It may look like they're just sitting in a car, but it's really taxing on the body and mind. Yet it could be that they are just in a flow, that they don't even noticing their tiredness or the effort they're putting into it. It's sort of effortless when they are in flow. When they're not in flow, of course, it's hard to work. It's hard work. It's difficult. The same for dancing, for singing, other sports, surfing, whatever. Just being you. It could be an effort or it could be effortless. And with meditation, it is not that we don't need to put any effort in. Quite the contrary, actually. If you look at the old traditions, the mystical traditions, that they invite us to really put an effort there. That's why they meditate all the time. They go on these really long retreats that can last for weeks, months, or even years. That is a lot of effort. Silent retreat for 3 years. Meditating 10 hours a day. It's not that we have to do it. It's just to see that, there's a reason why they're doing it. There's a reason why they're throwing everything at it. And it can be a lot of things. It could be, throwing everything in terms of doing meditation, but it could also be doing different things that helps us in some way. And it is highly individual as far as I see it. So it could be anything from, just putting on our attention on what we are grateful for. It could be doing psychotherapy. It could be changing our meditation practices, changing our spiritual practices to better fit our individual makeup. It could be changing relationships. It could be acquiring relationships. It could be anything. Changing our food, diet, sleeping habits, working out, whatever. All these things have an effect, even though there's just the appearance of things having an effect or whatever. In the relative world, if you want to speak about it like that, it does have an effect. And there is a reason why people all over the world have been meditating and telling people to, if you want to achieve this, if you want to get enlightened, wake up, whatever, do meditation. And I would say, add to that, that there, because of the highly individual nature of people, we now know about all these different traditions that have somewhat different styles of meditation. We know that some works better for some people, as well as the fact that some people need to do other things too, it seems, to get this breakthrough. Maybe not just doing meditation, it could be other things. And a lot of traditions speak about this too, of course, what you're supposed to eat and fasting and doing good things for others, being compassionate, doing compassion meditation even, Tonglen, metta meditation in the Buddhist tradition. But it could be all kinds of things. And again, what the advice is from some people at least is to throw everything at it. I would add to do that, but to really find your own way of doing whatever it is that you are doing. There's of course a troubling thing with our egoic mind that thinks it knows things. So we also do well in getting in contact with our kind of intuition or gut feeling or higher self, whatever you want to call it. That has been, for me at least, speaking from my own experience, really helpful. And we can do that through spiritual practices, but that also becomes more clear when we have, if we need other types of practices, like I said, psychotherapy, other kinds of therapies, changing food, diet, relation, everything that has to do with our life, because this is our life, right? So if we have something that is bothering us or not being conducive to our spiritual growth, we may need to change it perhaps. And how do we know? If we don't have an access to an intuition about those things, it's hard to really be certain. So doing practices that helps us getting in contact with that, I think, is helpful. Again, that's not true for everyone. It's so individual. It's so highly individual. That's why we can't just go to a spiritual teacher, because they can't tell us what to do, really. They can just tell us what they know and seem as if they think they know what we need to do. But in the end, it's our life. If you see the Buddha on the road, XM, that's what I say in the Buddhist tradition. Doesn't mean to literally get him off this planet if you see him. It's just to say that there's nothing outside of you. You are what you seek. You are your own home. It is not the egoic mind, of course. It is not that you think that this is your home. It is an actual experience that you come to, that you realize. That is what is called, that is what is meant by realization. What is pointing to at this very moment, your own true self, which can be realized. And the way to it, nobody really knows. Not for you, anyway. It is highly individual, and yet it is, I think, a good advice to know that it usually takes effort. And it usually takes you throwing whatever it is that you have inside of you at it. It could be smooth, it could be soft, it could be done with love. It's so different for different people. It could be just surrendering, maybe not even doing spiritual practices that much. Whatever floats your boat that takes you to the other shore. No one can tell you what that is, unfortunately, because no one knows. No one knows anything in the end. That is not a comforting idea, maybe, but it is comforting in the sense that there's nothing to seek. You don't need any understanding. You don't need to understand anything. You don't need to read a lot of books. You don't need to listen to a lot of teachers to get this, because this is what you are. Of course, you need something. You need to know that that is even possible. Most people, at least. Again, I think Jiddu Krishnamurti didn't need it. He seemed to have been, awake from a very early age. But that also kind of maybe skewed his teaching in a way that wasn't conducive for some people. Again, it can be really helpful for some on a certain, part of their journey to meet up with someone like him and have that type of teaching. Just as a type of food can be helpful for someone at a certain point in their time, but not all the time. Fasting can maybe be good for someone at certain times, but maybe not in others. It's so simple, of course, to say that, and it's obvious. Yet, for many people, I think when they listen to spiritual teachers and they go about their ways, they are, looking for something, some understanding, knowing what to do, which of course is what we are trying to kind of get a hold on. What we heard, what should I do? And there are this plethora of things which can seem overwhelming, and in many ways are. Just as understanding food, it can be definitely overwhelming, or any type of human endeavor, basically. It is a lot. It is very complex. But what the traditions tell us, and what I'm saying too, is we don't need that much. We just need some basic understanding that this is possible. Enlightenment, awakening, whatever you want to call it, is definitely possible. And you need to find your way. And it doesn't need to be really complicated. And your egoic mind, probably, when you look back, even if you look back at your life at this very moment, I think this wasn't really planned for you, by you. I mean, it might have been planned for you rather. So when you look back at your life, you realize, oh, I took this path and this, and now I realize why I did it. But probably wasn't obvious to you beforehand. At least that is my experience. So for me, just going with my intuition, but the intuition is, of course, influenced by what we know. So even listening to spiritual teachers, reading spiritual books, if that is something that entices you or feels wholesome or whatever, feels good, that is a great thing. Yet I think actual practice, putting effort there, being present, being in Eckart Tolle's the now, doing a mantra, doing noting, doing whatever it is, your meditation practice is the way. That is because reading and listening to people becomes, it can touch you in different ways, but it's, a lot of cognitive thinking stuff. And what you're seeking for is beyond or prior to thinking. And we get there not through thinking, but through not thinking, or seeing through thinking, doing meditation. Meditation isn't thinking, even though it, of course, allows for meditation. But the focus isn't our mind stuff, and going on fantasies and thinking things up. It is getting acquainted with what is prior to the thinking mind, which is this very moment. This is everything there is. There's nothing else to it. It's really simple, but again, it takes a lot of effort. And throw everything at it, as the famous, I don't even remember his name, some guy, some Zen dude said once, and it is echoed